Good evening, everybody. Uh, Hello, Lokesh on Instagram. I opened Clubhouse and also we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. This is a trial, and we will see how that goes. So, anybody wants to come up on Clubhouse and Instagram on live, and we'll also work with people on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn as people come up. Uh, so today probably we will be dealing more with the people on the Instagram and also on the uh, Clubhouse. Okay? So today I'm Rav Kulusu. Let me introduce myself. I'm an internal medicine doctor who is also interested in ancient wisdom. I kind of bring this room every day so that we can deal with the stresses that we have in the modern life due to our lifestyles and also the pandemic. And we kind of explore some of the hacks from the ancient wisdom, which include several systems of practices all over the world, but India more because I kind of come from India and I know a little bit deeper into the ancient scriptures and spiritual knowledge from people like Ramana Maharshi, Jay Krishnamurti, Sadhguru. So, part of the spirituality is a part of our life now, including yoga and meditation, Vedanta. So, I want to bring that into our awareness and maybe adopt some of uh, those practices into our daily life. You know? Okay, so we will see. Anybody wants to come up, and they are more welcome to come, and then we go from there. Okay, so. Uh, So we'll see. Um, as we go on exploring these things, so for the last few weeks, we have been talking about all the pillars of wellness: food, activity, rest, sleep, and also thought, especially information overload, overwhelm, and how we can really do that. Okay, so with that introduction, I welcome people to come up and really participate and give their comments and give their questions. And we'll explore different aspects of our modern life and how we can look back and learn the wisdom. We don't have to go back and live like that, but see what they said about so many internal processes that a human being goes through, and especially their findings on consciousness and uh, stress related internal processes that they envisioned through deep meditation and giving us shrutis, that is that can be they heard them and they have imposed them on daily life into themselves, and then they kind of brought it into the regular life of Indians in the form of prayer, meditation, yoga at depth. Most of the people are taking the physical yoga as the yoga process, but then yoga is much deeper than that. And the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also for the mind that he wrote it. He wrote another Ayurvedic text for the body, but for the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is the Bible of yoga, is written by Patanjali for the mind. You know, and he also wrote another book for the speech, the Vyakarana. So the more you go into that, it is apparent that he wanted us to have a silent mind, which is very much needed in this information age with all sorts of uh, problems we have with information overload, brain fog, overwhelm, and stress from that. Okay, so I have been talking about these issues for a while now, and people have been enthusiastically participating in these rooms. The room fills up in Clubhouse slowly, but that's okay. I don't mind even having a small room, even one person, that's good enough for me. But I wanted to convey this to other platforms, so this is an effort to put them all on live. So let's see. Hello. Hi, how are you, Ken?
Hi, Doctor. For like I was listening to you a day before, and I was was it? I guess was it what do you? I was thinking about like sleep. I have really bad sleep. How
Yeah.
do you how what would I best do? Breathing exercises or cold showers or something?
Uh, Sleep is a good thing to know about, Ken, because that's very important for us to regenerate our body and mind, right? So there is so many mechanisms we need to understand to have a quality number of hours of sleep. You start with you can have some routines before sleep to make a sleep ambience for you. That is like a part of it is in a warm baths and also some yoga stretches, and then calming the mind with the deep breathing. And then you can also do yoga nidra. It's a special way of sleeping, like using the yoga, but it involves a corpse pose. That means you lie down and relax deliberately each muscle group with breathing. As you take the deep breath, you contract toes, for example, and as you take the deep breath out, you let it go and relax completely. So you do that with toes to ankles to knees and calves and thighs, like that. You come apart in a slow, relaxed way. 5 to 10 minutes, if you can do that, you will really go into a deep state of relaxation, and that induces sleep too. Other thing is you have to see what things are impressed on your mind through the workday, through the relationships and all that, right? And you have to see those reactions that you accumulate in your mind and make an active effort to really put them in perspective. Suppose you had an argument with a colleague and you don't want to sleep on it, or you don't want to be angry about it. You want to review that reaction and put it in the perspective for their long-term goals or for importance and all that, right? And then you also pick up 3 or 10 things that happen to you in a positive way, your positive experiences, or reactions, and then you keep them in your mind and then go to sleep. So you will get positive frame of mind. And in the morning, when you get up, don't go to the devices right away. In the night also, if you keep the devices 1 hour away, and in the morning, when you get up, if you keep the devices away instead of jumping on them, that will be very good for you. And slowly you will be restored of the same sleep that you had as a child, because you don't want to lose your diurnal rhythm of sleep. That means you try to go to sleep the same hour every day, and then you prepare the atmosphere, and then you do these things I'm talking about, the yoga routines, the meditation routines, the mind calming and keeping your positive mind, all that, and then keeping the devices away. If you want, you can also write all the things that you're going to do tomorrow, like itinerary, and then keep that aside and forget it for the night. That kind of forgetting about them for the night really helps you to have more clearer mind and much deeper sleep. But you can figure out this, whatever note you made, either on the your device or on the paper, and you can get to them later. While you get up in the morning, you don't want to go into them right. So that kind of control is needed because we have multi-stimuli platforms everywhere. We get so much news, so much information attacking our mind, and people are really building a very, very hyper-reactive nervous system, and that's what we want to calm down and make ourselves more receptible for deep sleep. So be awareness, that means be in the present through the day. Whatever you do, you kind of finish it up right away. But if at all anything remnant, you wash it off before you go to sleep, and then come home and sleep at the same time, and also do some of these exercises which I have talked about in my yoga routines all the time. They are all recorded and put on the Instagram live, so you can go and see them there. They're kind of
Oh,
detailed.
thank you.
Yeah, detailed, and then they're all kept there just for the service purposes, so that people can see them at their own convenient time. Because I get up in the morning 6 o'clock, I go to my studio in the basement, I do the yoga, and I put it on the Clubhouse and also Instagram Live. From tomorrow, probably it will be on the live on all those other platforms too, so that people can do with me and they can send questions or doubts, and then I usually follow them. And I have several programs that they can follow me if they want personal instruction too. But this is all done every day in the morning. I do it every day, even Saturday, Sunday too. So
Okay.
people, yeah, people do that, and I talk about this relaxation or active nature in the morning. So all these things will help you. Okay.
Have you seen these? What was it? Chinese riff? Like, uh, I don't know what it's called, but if you PTR or look at my DP, it's like a what do you call it? They talk about like different pressure points for your hand
Oh
to
yeah.
affect like
Oh yeah. Sure.
you know.
Yeah, that is real.
Is there something like
Yeah, that is real because what they talk about and yoga talk about as the same energy they're talking about. They talk about meridians through which the energy goes, and yoga talks about nadis. So if you have those acupressure points stimulated, actually you will have release of the energy. So which is a very good thing. Yoga does it by stretching and breathing and all that, whereas acupuncture uses some points that they can stimulate with needles. Both work in the same manner, but then different way of techniques. This is more like a you just do it yourself. You don't have to have expertise of the acupuncture. But there is in yoga what's called acupressure. They indicate these points that you can press and release the energy that is blocked through the nadis, and that is legitimate too. So you can learn that also. But then generally, yoga improves your awareness, and yoga improves your um, energy depletion will be less with yoga. So you can release the nadi points and all that through the day too. So there are ways to do that. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah? I was just thinking about it because like yeah, I'm interested in yoga and
Yeah,
all that, but I was just wondering like how does this like when my dad did it, I didn't believe him,
yeah,
and I just thought, oh, it can't be true. And now today, I'm just like, yeah, looking
yeah,
at ancient wisdom, I guess, like
yeah.
in this room.
Actually, that is true because ancient wisdom had a very good functional anatomy of the body and mind in a different way. I was raised as a allopathic physician, so I'm a completely modern physician. So what I understood as anatomy and physiology is very valid too. We go into the biochemistry and all that. But the difference is the ancient had this energy understanding. You know, our modern medicine was based on quantum mechanics, and now the quantum physics has leaped into energy too. So they are meeting each other. So it's like you have to understand the complementary nature of ancient wisdom and also modern medicine. That way you will be able to use them properly instead of telling one is good or other is bad. Both have the strong points, both have the difficult points. So we have to understand them. you know
Yeah, definitely. Like, was it Roger Penrose said something about conformal cyclic cosmetology? It's very similar to, I guess, like ancient, like,
yeah,
he was saying like the world will like end and be reborn again.
yeah, we know because modern times in the emergency rooms when we are seeing on a moonlit day, a lot of people who are moody and disturbed, they come there because they are affected by the um, moon cycles. That is all evident because we see the sea coming up like that. Our body has 70% water, so it has its own effect on the on our body, the moon cycles and all that. But they have a much deeper understanding of that. I don't know much about that, but I have an inkling and understanding of generalities. But they had much deeper understanding of that. What I wanted to know was how is the body anatomy and physiology is different from the modern understanding, and what is that they have done that was so phenomenal they could take the pulse and then judge what kind of diseases you have. So I wanted to understand that. That led me to this energy manipulation with acupressure or what's called nadi pravina or nadi siddha. That means all these meridians they call nadis in yoga, and the nadis are like a the pathways for the energy. They are not anatomically demonstrable, but they are open up when you manipulate the the key points in the body. The same principle in acupuncture too, because they can manipulate those meridians and the points where the energy is blocked, and they can release them with this. But in
Yeah.
acupressure, they do it manual pressure. So
Yeah, I sent you a back channel message, but I was looking at like you said the combination of like modern science and I guess ancient wisdom, and they were like doing scanning people's brains as they were meditating
yeah,
to
yeah,
try to find patterns in it. It was
yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, because what happened was we had these experiments done with yogis before in 60s and 70s, out of which the biofeedback came, and also they had this breathing exercise under the water, so divers can jump deep into the lake, and then only those people who mastered those pranayama techniques, they can stay underwater without any masks and all that. That was there. And then, as the technology evolved and we have more tools to see inside the body, we were able to understand lots of things. And then now we have this cine MRI where we can really notice the chemical changes giving different colors or different lighting up. And we can really demonstrate with meditation what happens in the mind much, much better than before. So that was there. But the meditative practices, all that they have done, that was so advanced. I don't think many people really understand that and go into that easily. And some of the folklore, some of the stories were there, but then real depth of meditation to go, you need training, and you need to really let go some of the modern habits. That is the where the difficulty is. But some people are taking the scans before they attempt these meditative practices, and then later on they teach them, and then they, even though they go to this resort hotels which are very 5 star or something like that, they have to get up in the 4 o'clock and then go and do the meditation, because that time is something very special, because you can have more people sleeping, right, normally. So you don't have that what's called chin matra. There's like a energy that is quite quiet at the time, so you can have the frequencies much more alert and awake. So when they do that, they could identify on the scans what exactly is going on with person, and then the person who really understood what's the correct way of doing that and actually really participate like that, he has this results can be seen for him later after the meditation, and that's very impressive. People, even when I in the hospital, if I take an iPad and show people what the heart works and dynamic heart, I can show them flows, I can show them, I can slice the heart different ways to show them anatomy that was affected in their heart, and they understand much more. They say a picture is thousand words, right? Anybody who really sees those pictures and understand much better. So we kind of use the technology to help people to understand what was going on. But you don't have to have all of that. You can just be a regular, sincere student of yoga. There's called what's called swa adhyaya. That means you study your body and mind while you are practicing. That way, you can grasp everything about yourself much better, and that is really helps people to really go forward or change their practice according to the feedback that you get from your own body and mind.
Is it like mainly related to like the breathing that we do? I feel like a lot of it has to do with maybe our blood pressure and also the oxygen levels.
Yeah, it's not just breathing only, but you have to, first of all, the yoga stretch you muscles much deeper. Deep muscles you don't know they existed, they also come into you slowly. They won't come right away, but slowly. So, as the potential spaces in the periphery opens, for example, you are standing on the toes are needing more blood supply, right? And the body sends the supply there. But if the body supplies an oxygen rich blood, obviously those peripheries will be doing much better. So what the pranayama does is it increases your efficiency of your lungs. Normally, people breathe unconsciously, very shallow breathing. But then, when you attempt to do deep breathing, and also there are so many types of these breathing exercises that has got really breathing as is something you do that right away you get the benefit, you know. And so once you practice that, so it's a whole system. It's not like a one particular thing. But simple thing is, suppose you are kind of anxious and you are feeling your breath is rapid, then what you do is you just stop and take deep slow breaths. That slows your thinking patterns, and that itself reduces your anxiety and all that. So people feel much better when they take deep breaths. But then you incorporate that into the yoga practice quite often. Okay, and people who do that, they kind of see the benefits from them. So, and then once they adopt it, they have to do slow easy transition into a big practice, and then as they practice it becomes much easier, so they can go into deeper levels of practice. So it's like a big science, big c. But even if you do minimum, like for example there are what's called sun salutations, and if you do that even one to five times in the morning, one to five times in the evening, you get tremendous benefit. And that's another thing they noted was people who do those sun salutations, they kind of sleep better. So that's also the I do that sun salutations once in a while in my yoga practice in the morning too. That can be used like a very good aerobic exercise, you know. So I do that, and several other things I do. Lots of times I feel whatever I feel like I do it that day. Or if somebody asked me for back pain, then the next day I did for the back pain. Somebody who is obese, she could not get up out of the chair, but I showed her how she can do these stretches and breathing in the chair. And she started to lose weight. So she got encouraged and she was doing well. And after 1 month, she reported several kgs of weight loss. So, according to the request, sometimes I may change the routine. Otherwise, I do standing sometimes, sitting down sometimes, sitting on the chair sometimes, on the floor sometimes. And also, there is a routine that you can do just after you get up in the morning. I did that one time. So like that, according to the request I get, and people have different problems, right? So I do them according to that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna look up your videos.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. Alan wants to come up and see. So where are you from, Ken?
I'm from Chicago.
Uh,
Someone told me about this club, and I popped in. I think earlier when someone was asking about, I guess, stress for like
yeah.
15 to 25-year-olds or something, and then I'm like, yeah. Um, and then like you closed the room soon after, but it was very interesting what you had to say about that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to say about anxiety? I guess I feel like the modern world is full of anxiety now, and like people are just anxious a lot.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Well, our lifestyles, our emphasis on being hurried, being on the go, and then so many pressures on the work, and people don't really take care of the being in the workplace or anywhere. Everybody want to achieve something, doing, but they don't prepare themselves. So anxiety is something that comes up if you use it in the right way, that preparedness for the work and all. But if it goes beyond your resilience inside, for example, you are very reactive to something. Somebody says something, you immediately react, and that reaction causes that too. So there's so much on the orientation of doing stuff, but what about being? That is why the whole civilizations evolved, where we are running towards where we don't know. And then every day is like a danger life. They go and they see dangers in things that are very, very mundane or normal. And people also behave like that. So if they miss something of a target in a work, and they get very anxious because they have this punishment coming on in some way, right? So that kind of thing. So the whole culture is based on artificial, but not on the nature. And the more we are away from the nature, the more we are not really together inside. So developing this resilience is not a big deal. And looking at things and say what is important, what is not, what is important in the long run, why does it have to be instant gratification, all those factors. I have an analysis of how we evolved as a civilization, thinking only the brain is our thing, and there is so much more behind that. Thought is not the our controller. Thought is actually our slave, and we are slave to our slave. That kind of thing. That's why they react to every small thing like that is going to be big deal, and then they stress it out in the form of anxiety. So you can take it easy a little bit, and you can develop yourself inner wise so that you have the balance. And then actually in the morning practice, that's what I emphasize on people. Come on, be non-reactive by developing your inner resilience. How do you do that? Deep breathing does relax your parasympathetic nervous system. That is the one antidote to the sympathetic system overactivation. That's what we do. We are trained for that, right? Everywhere we are pushed, and we are pushing ourselves and all that. That is the sympathetic overdrive, which secretes a lot of stress hormones. But if you are cool, if you take it easy and relax, and then don't react that easily, you won't have anxiety that much. That's why my practice involves deep breathing, even when you are doing the postures, and that way you can be non-reactive but responding to the task with much more balance, with it, much more resilient. That's what I teach the nurses and the doctors whoever work with me, so that they can go and be more relaxed on the job. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, building resistance, I guess, is important. Like, I've also heard about like how we're away from nature now too,
yeah,
and
yeah. That's a big deal because if you just take a walk, I know Chicago very well because I love the city. I lived there for 8 years, and I first came into the country, I was there. So I got used to it, like it was my second home from India. That is the first home, this is the second home, like, right? So I was very, very happy in Chicago. But the further training and all that, I had to go to New York and came back to Midwest to practice here again. Then I settled down here. But Chicago has these forest preserves. So I used to deliberately take a walk. Even in the middle of the winter, I used to dress up very well and go there and walk. And that way I got acclimatized to the bitter cold. Otherwise, I would not be able to adjust to the cold. But once I understood that, how to adjust to that, I enjoyed Chicago Lake and the downtown and also the suburbs and in the forest preserves. I used to walk. What happens in the forest preserve, there's a forest bathing, right? We kind of pay attention to the forest. Actually it stimulates our immune system. you know if you want to say particularly the killer T lymphocytes, they get augmented by that kind of relaxation. So forest breathing is routinely prescribed now for people who are really stressed out because they are living in a concrete jungle with all these digital devices and information, but they're never their self, that instinctive self, you know. So that's why we always tell them go and take a walk. Literally, the phrase "smell the roses" is very, very true. We have to do that, It is.
yeah, I heard greenery is really important for that. But do you feel like moving away from like a city is probably like the best way to deal with this? Because I feel like yeah, like one
Uh,
thing someone mentioned was how we see a lot of straight lines and we're constantly reading,
yeah,
whereas like these things are very artificial things that would have in nature.
yeah,
Like straight lines don't really exist, and like
yeah,
we're always reading, like
yeah.
just because there's like letters on everything.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If you go on a retreat to a hill area or to some remote place or some village where everything is sleepy, that has a positive effect on people who have frayed their nerves, by living this hurried and very fast life. Actually, you can do that even in the city also, provided you understand the whole mechanism, adjust the lifestyles a little bit. That's what I do. If I lived in urban areas, but I also lived in rural areas too. My place now in Iowa is in the middle of this cornfields. So we know they're all surrounded us all the trees and everything. But sometimes the once you get out to the work, we go into the urban area, and all the sorts of the same civilization, so-called civilization. I don't really call it civilization because more like a industrialization and informationization. We are living in artificial things, so we want to create kind of plants in the home, plants in the office, or maybe fountains, or aquariums, things like that you can add to create something alive, the pets and the flowers and all that. So if you keep a flower next to the computer, that makes a lot of difference whenever you see that. There are ways to be with the nature, because once you understand the mechanism, you can create it. I think a lot of people are doing that. Indoor gardening, outdoor gardening, and also this water fountains, and also this rock lead paths, and then they walk on them with bare feet in the house. Just a 6 feet walk. That is very good for the massaging of your feet, and that's very good for your entire. So everybody knows that massage also is very good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to be more smart about these things, and then see our surroundings, and actually examine our lifestyle, how I'm doing it, what do I have healthy pleasures, do we have some kind of routine where I can go back to the nature, hike, bike, or go to the mountains and climb, or just go into the forests and then walk a little bit, that kind of thing. That we call it retreat, right? Retreating from this so-called concrete jungle that we made the cities into, and then go and take refuge in the nature, wherever you can find it. There are some cities in Chicago also. They have these uh, the rooftops. They have these gardens, so if you're flying over it, you can see them. Rows and rows of buildings in Chicago downtown. They have these gardens on the top. And now a new thing has come is how to do it white painting, so that it will absorb. It will not absorb the sun that much. I think some of the paint they are coming up now are going to really reflect 99.8% of so that they are promoting a solution for our carbon print. So all those things are there.
Yeah, it's if I think about it in a scientific way, I think it's sort of like fighting the neocortex and like the limbic system, and we're like neglecting the limbic system in our body, right? We
Yeah,
say that.
yeah. It's like a more like a we have a reptile brain, and we have a evolved brain that is thinking. But beyond that, there is awareness. See, modern science, neuroscience, we can explain to you what are the brain structures, what are the cortical areas that are connected to different functions. But that's only analyzing in a reductionist way. But the whole human beings is one whole. So you cannot just judge them just by the powerful intellect or sharp intellect. You have to judge by them how much wisdom they have through that. The feeling, the way they react, and all that. That is kind of very important. So, like I said, we have to combine both modern and then ancient. That way, we can get the best of both. You know. Hi.
Hello, Dr. Rao. Namaste.
Namaste. How are you? Okay.
Good. It's been a long time, but I just wanted to say hello. And you came into my mind the other day as I was listening. I wanted to ask you about. I'm going through like a challenging time in my life right now of like having divorce, but I do know it's like a thing for me.
Yeah.
But I have kind of had a return to like the Gayatri Mantra, and I've been like listening to like a lot of mantra and like it's chanting and it's just helping me feel better. And I just was curious about like the science of it and more about like
Yeah.
why I have read the translations of it, but
Yeah.
it still like feels good to say and hear. And I was curious about. I was like, I know just who to ask, Dr. Rao. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, and that's a very powerful mantra. Actually, the word mantra means dhyate mananam mantra. That means if you repeat the same word several times, it has its effect on that to cooling you down because you are so focused on that word all the time for some length of time, your sensate objects will be withdrawn. Whatever senses are going after what you want to see and all. So that is the way it doesn't have to be only certain mantras, but the mantras have significance because the way it's structured and the language of Sanskrit also has a resonance properties occurs that are very beneficial for our body rhythms. So if you for example, that one starts with Om, and then it starts Bhur Bhuva Swaha, right? The Om is like a seed mantra, you know, and if you repeat that, it has got three letters in it, A, U, Ma, right? When you say A, U, Ma, you will notice the tongue is not moving at all, you know. So that kind of thing is there. So Gayatri Mantra is basically telling you that you can communion with the divine force, and that can be in your mind and then influence not only you but everybody else's intellect so that they are more aware of the world and everything. So that kind of bringing divine interference into your intellect really helps some qualities of the intellect very much, which is very good because you can deal with a lot of problems with that kind of powers in the mind. They're not powers in the sense, but they're very reliable mind qualities that they enlarge, and this is known to do that. So, how you use that mantra is you kind of do a maximum of 108 times in the morning and in the evening, especially dawn and dusk. And when you do that, if your concentration completely on that mantra, I also like you. I want to understand what was the meaning, why it was created, and all that. I told my friends here several times what was the meaning of that and how we should use it. The meaning will go later, but then the routine, if you do that, suppose you cannot do 108 times, split into 54 in the morning, 54 in the even that is too much, then you go to 27, 27 like that. So you can build upon that. You can start with one, two times and then improve that as you see. The main principle is when you are doing that, focus only on that. Even you can do a few words and then and a formation, you can do the same thing. But this one is had some inspiration behind it of how those people who were liberated from their own chattering mind and went into deep states of meditation, and then they kind of heard this in their meditation, and then they reproduced it and provided it to us for our use. It's like a suppose you take Beethoven. He's a evolved soul, and the way he composed. If we listen, we have a feeling of nice. Any major musician are like that, right? But this one is much more thought and awareness involved in it. That's why you get those qualities, and that's why these mantras are very important. But if I have to talk about mantra, even if I take the Om, I can talk for 3 4 hours on that. They are that deep. But all we have to do is just do that with the concentration and try to not let our senses go to anything else. Just withdraw them and focus them, and you'll have real good benefits. There was a girl that used to walk in India for 12 miles, I think. They have to walk to go to school and come back. She used to repeat this Om mantra, just to Om, and then she was not tired while she is walking, where the other kids were really tired. So that kind of benefit you can see, even if you are doing. I'm on the treadmill. If I'm walking or running on that, then I can do this, and I can see the effect by myself. So that way, it's not a belief system. It's more like a evolved system from inquiry. So anybody who does it without having any religious or anything else, they will be fine. If they have some feeling about that, they can identify that way too. That's up to them. But you don't have to have that. These are all evolved out of these regular meditative practices that people have. Does that help, or is that vague for
Oh
you?
yes, Dr. Rao, thank you. So fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, like, as you spoke about it. So from the a quantum point of view too, like I know it's the same principles of like training your mind to like be still, and the
Yeah.
value of just like
Exactly.
taming the animal mind of just like
Exactly.
the body subsiding and
Yeah.
submitting to that too. And so it's amazing how it goes.
Yeah. Actually,
Obviously.
you brought a good point. The animal mind and then evolved human mind. What it is they said we are not just eating and breeding people, two-legged animals. We, as human beings, we have this consciousness. We can be conscious. We can think. We have intelligence. We can project and we can imagine. We can create all that, right? But then what is that use of that awareness to really discover what the human possibilities are rather than identifying humanness with our weaknesses. We have the possibilities and we can aim for them, so
And
they,
do you feel like it's in the stillness that we can hear God, and that's how we
yes,
can commune with the
exactly.
divine, because we can't hear it so well
No,
when
no,
we're
not only hearing, that's true, but the thing is, be still and know you are God. That was there in Christian mythology too, right? Like that in the yoga, Patanjali, he says, still the mind, and then you will feel who you are, that awareness. A lot of people are on the thought mode all the time, but that is only one part of it. It happens to us, but we are not in charge of them. That then the slave becomes our master, but instead of that, if you still the thought, you have so many possibilities that you can see within yourself. That's why they said yoga starts when thought stops. Doesn't mean you become unintelligent. You become more intelligent actually. And for example, I kind of a silent mind. I can still the thought, with the understanding and all of that, right? So I know the power of that. In the morning, sometimes the silence starts, and I may be going and working and everything. I may be using your mind, but I don't get the brain fog. That's what happens in the clubhouse for me. A lot of my friends told me that they have this brain fog, but I don't. Even how many rooms I go, how much depth I talk about it. Now sometimes they don't understand me, and then they leave me alone. That's okay too. But then I can put a lot of effort talking about these things, and I don't have the brain fog. If that makes sense to you, I guess.
Yes, very much. And do you also like? Are you sure that meditation has something to do with that? Like that keeps
Oh
the
yeah.
synapses and everything awake. And
Actually,
uh,
people don't know meditation. True meditation is where you are. Uh, it's a state. You go into a state. It's not a practice. That's where people mistake. And also, people try to say mindfulness. Actually, you have to have less of a mind. So I always tell people that mindfulness that you are talking about is misnomer. You could call it attention or awareness. If you are in awareness, you practice that, then you are in charge of the thoughts that come to you. So if it is negative, you can turn them into positive and direct them towards your goal. So you can do things much better in that energy than being burnt out by that thought all the time. So
Thank you so much, Dr. Rao.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to talk about. And sorry, just one more question. So these vibrations are obviously like in relation with heart coherence and a very high vibration sound they're making. So by just simply being in that resonance is
Yeah.
positive. Also with the mantras, is that why
Yeah.
it feels so good to like a
Yeah.
your
Like
soul?
like you said, Akash, I also want to understand these things. I don't want to repeat them because I am Western educated. Also, I am also having a logical, cognitive mind development, right? So I needed to understand, but once I understood, then I came to know there is so much more beyond cognition, you know. And then you put the cognition for the right use. That means, first of all, you stop asserting, I know everything. And that's what the Western mind usually says. This is the way the world has to be. And that is the problem. Now, once you do that, then what happens is you release so much energy to explore deeper aspects of mind and they open up. And then actually your intellect becomes much sharper, much brighter, but more in control of us. So that we are in control of that intellect, and that is very phenomenal.
I had a bad connection. I'm sorry if I couldn't hear you. So
Okay.
sorry. Thank you.
Uh, I think I'm speaking in the same way here. Nothing changed. Maybe the internet connection, maybe. So I think Neeru is here. Let me see. I think we talked about Gayatri Mantra one time. Neeru heard it at the time.
Yeah, but I'm able to hear you fine.
Yeah. So Neeru, do you remember Gayatri Mantra? We talked about it, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I couldn't chant it every day, but then I did read its meaning, and
Yeah.
it kind of it's nice.
Actually,
I have to make some time to actually do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to confirm that in this club or not, because several places I talked about it, and that's why I want to make
Yeah,
sure.
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did
So,
talk. Yeah.
I think we're telling a story of Vishwamitra, how the whole thing has born, and once you we will, Alexis, we will talk about that at length. If you contact with me, then I will tell you the whole significance of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then in the morning time, another thing is how they use for the yoga practice. What they do is they kind of first assume the posture, and then they go on repeating this Gayatri mantra like a one time, two time, three time, four time, like a count. Instead of just being plenty, they will do this mantra several times, and then next time they can increase the number of times they do. So they get in both benefits at the same time. Kids are actually taught this way, by that yoga guru Krishnamacharya. He's the modern yoga introducer in India way back in 1900s, and then his students came and spread into America, to the West as a whole. But he was phenomenal. You should see his videos, how his body was, how many things he did very well. And then he made those kids repeat that Gayatri mantra while they are performing asanas. So that was actually he was hired by this king of Mysore at the time to teach this yoga in a athletic way for the warriors of that king. They used to have this army and everything, right, each kingdom. So to train their soldiers, they taught this vinyasa yoga, very fast moving from one asana to other asana, which is very very good. Have you heard about Angamardana, Alexis? I haven't. Is it a particular chant or a person? No, no. It's a yoga routine. If you do that, you will be athletically very, very fit. That's why I mentioned that. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. 20 minutes
As
you
you
do
were
that.
speaking, I just maybe it should be called mind emptiness, not mindfulness.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Instead of mind emptiness, you kind of move away the whole structure of thought and mind to awareness.
The space behind, the awareness behind the thoughts.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Once you are in awareness, thought functions properly, and then you don't have this brain fog and all this information overload, overwhelm. What is happening is I'm also an informatician. I deal with information too. But we are staying with information, letting the information dominate us. We are not getting the next step from information. You should derive wisdom, and you should stay in that and use the information. But what we are doing now is with all the industry, hospitals, everywhere, there's so much information, right? So we kind of succumb to that over exposure to the multiple sources of information. Yoga is like a withdrawing the senses from those sources and not really absorbing unnecessary things and discriminate what is important, what's not.
And do you think that is a divine
No,
practice, or not
no.
for everyone, or just sensory?
No, no, we can practice it, but it's a proper way of teaching without anything. Like, somebody discovered gravity. We don't say he's a divine. He just recognize something already there. In yoga, also, there are those areas that we can discover about ourselves, but no proper coaching. And also, people also don't want to learn that deep because it requires um, certain discipline, certain capacity, and also not to have this mind that I know everything, I don't have to know. You have to have that inquisitiveness to learn new things. Then you can easily learn them. Even the highest meditative states are can be achieved by anybody, provided they understand their structure, how they develop. Now, suppose you are brought up in Germany, and Germany becomes very easy, right? And you take me there now. It's very tough for me because I'm already well versed in other languages, and also I don't have the space to really learn that. But if I apply myself, I can learn German, right?
Correct.
That's the kind of thing. That's why I'm trying to tell them, even though I'm a modern physician, I discovered some of the wellness promoting lifestyles, wellness promoting understanding about ourselves, interior, our mind, our heart, our energy. All those things are they understood much better. And they also led a very simple life outwardly, so that they don't burden themselves with that. And then they have this rich inner life. Psychiatry, psychology, all these people are also adapting from that. They have what's called positive psychology now. They are a direct descendant of um, uh, um, ways of life they initiated way back in thousands of years ago. Even microbiome that we are dealing with the gut health and all that, that was there 15,000 years ago. I presented a slide the other day, told them how important easy bowel movement in the morning every day is. That is disturbed because we kind of disturb our natural rhythms inside our body and mind.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rao. I appreciate this conversation. Namaste to you all. I have to go to my children, but thank you
Okay.
all.
Okay, sure. So, Lakshmi, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Rao.
How are you?
I've been listening. I'm doing well, thank you. So my question, I have been practicing some of the mindful, meditation and um, some spirituality. I've always tried to bring into my life, but
Yeah.
I go out of track
Yeah.
quite often.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I have anxiety issues, especially in the last 2 years. It has been really haphazard. It would just come up without, I don't know what exactly would trigger, but suddenly something would trigger, and I will have an episode of anxiety for like almost a week or so.
Yeah.
And I noticed that it's very difficult to go back to doing these practices at that time. My mind is calmer, then it comes naturally. But when I'm disturbed, I find it extremely difficult to pull myself up to do that. Yeah. And it's such a deadlock kind of a situation wherein the practice will help, but you cannot get yourself to do that. Get out of the bed to really get yourself to do it and break the cycle. Yeah. And and especially during the pandemic, I'm seeing that happening quite a lot. And I don't know how can I bring how can I help there or help myself there, or if there is
Yeah,
anything, any tips or
yeah.
insights that you can provide.
I think you have to take a step back, Lakshmi, and then look at your life as a whole, and maybe reflect on that like a few days away from the lifestyle that you have, if you can do that. That means you have to retreat from your current lifestyle, what's going on, and then look at them in a way that you don't have to blame yourself, but you understand what is important for you, where you are going, what is the lifestyle is doing for that, and all. Otherwise, circumstances will make you reactive like that. When you are reactive, what is happening is you have a lot of stress hormones going in your mind, and that's why you are not able to do that. So instead of attempting to do that at a time, you can see what is it that bringing all this. Why I'm being so reactive to what? And that kind of non-reactive can be enhanced by deep breathing during the practice. That's why I do every day morning for at least for my people, friends who are following me, who wants me and doing physically by myself, and they are down to follow it. They told me that, so that's why I do it. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't come, but I do it for them in case they come every day. Otherwise, they can do my recorded tapes and do it. But the important thing is, can I make myself resilient inside by my practice in the morning? And then go and face the life with that kind of improved resilience, and that will make you non-reactive or less reactive, and then you can respond to the task and all that, so that your chemistry won't be disturbed. So do practice every day, no matter what the circumstances outside are. And the deeper you go into that, the better you will be able to balance it. So basically, don't sacrifice your routines in the morning. You have to have some kind of physical exercise or breathing exercise, and focusing, and also kind of elevated thought. Read about something that is really elevated thought, rather than negative news or negative thinking about our future and all that. Instead of that, you can really have elevated thought, and really understand what is possible with this kind of orientation inward. you know
Yeah, thank you, doctor. So actually, as I mentioned, like on a regular basis, morning gets little tricky with kids school, kids back to school, and all that kind of things.
yeah
Suddenly is feeling overwhelming. But since you are also a medical doctor, I just wanted to. Sometimes I wonder, and my husband also asked me, like I always go back to like having a, strengthening my pranayama practice, or I do the art of living. Uh, Pranayama kriya, and but uh, so it takes me out, or there are times this episode comes, but as I said, like last 2 years it has been like sometimes at night the sleep gets very disturbed, or I feel like there is so much
yeah
activity
yeah
in the night, where I find it very hard to calm myself with anxiety. And sometimes I wonder when I've not seek uh, professional help, like
yeah
so I sometimes wonder, like when is it that I have to take a pause and I think about maybe I need help. I
yeah
need help, and I may not. I shouldn't be like completely going trying to fix myself, or I because it is a phase. Like when it is going good, it's fine. But when there are these episodes of
yeah
trigger,
it's
I find it
overwhelming. It's
difficult.
overwhelming for you at sometimes that you cannot do it yourself. Yeah, I
Yes.
understand.
So I keep wondering, like, when is that moment? Like, when should I actually take a step back and
Yeah,
seek professional help,
this
or
this is
take the next step?
this is a evolution of the modern way of life, Lakshmi. What it is the fundamental question we have to put to ourselves is: are we spiritual beings going through a human life, or a human being trying to attain spiritual attainment? So there's a fundamental when you think you are just a human being, you want to grow inside, then you will be a spirituality, then that becomes a very big deal, and then you are going to do spiritual practices to encounter the stresses in the otherwise materialistic and redundant. That's basically most of the people are, you know. But the thing with the spiritual practices are you don't have to depend on anybody, but you realize that you have this spiritual being inside, and that's already evolved. So that spiritual being going through the human experiences. Once you identify there, you always have the spiritual basis, that eternal thing, and that's like a high thing I'm talking about. But if you just remember that, also that gives you a lot of strength.
Thank you, doctor. Yeah, that's very well put.
Yeah. Think about
Yeah.
that. Think about that, and then every day you can write it down. I am a spiritual being going through a human experience. Right now, what we are thinking, we are human beings. We have to evolve before we can realize we are spiritual beings. So we have to have spiritual enlightenment and all that. But actually, if you look at it, it will come to you if you can remember this all the time. So there is the mantra, right? Deham, naham, koham, soham. That means deham means body mind complex. Naham means I'm not. Koham is then who am I? Soham is I am the absolute consciousness mixed with me. I'm the aham means me. Soham so means that absolute consciousness. I'm part of that. Once you realize that, then it will be. You can just repeat that mantra every day in the morning and in the evening too. Oh, I need to note that down. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I always tell that mantra because it's so much easier. Actually, my breathing exercise combines with that. Okay. When I take the deep breath in, I ask, "Who am I?" Then I hold on to the breath. Then I say, "That is Soham. That is the absolute consciousness that's coming into me. I'm part of that." And then deham naham means I'm not this. When you breathe out, you say, "I'm not this body and mind," and that is a very powerful, assertive affirmation. Yeah, at least repeat that mantra several times. Okay, that will help a lot for you. Thank you. Can you please repeat the mantra one more time? Yeah. Just one more time, please. Yeah. Deham naham, koham soham. Okay. Doctor, before I say anything, can you bring up Benko? Because he's been really stressed out lately. What? I think he's just really low in life right now. What is that, Nick? Can you repeat that? I couldn't get it. Benko? Yeah, no, he's just been really depressed lately and telling me he just needs stress tactics. You want stress tactics? No. See, do you see Benko? Oh yeah. He's okay. I'll bring you on. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No. Yeah, now I see it. Yeah. Hello, doctor. How are you? Hi, I'm okay, Benko. How are you? I'm doing good, but I have stress problems as well. Yeah, it has to. Your family, right? Yeah, it's like I think we're already at 9 o'clock. So oh my God. Yeah, can you give me that any particular question, Banco? Yeah, what's yeah, just in public, when I'm in public or talking to women, for example, I just get really nervous and I have very bad anxiety and stress that just comes, and I just don't know how to deal with it. I can't even continue conversation. I just have to leave. You come? Yeah. Yeah. Banco, what you do is just to learn that deep breathing I was always talking about. Do that few times when you have the anxiety, and see the anxiety going down, and then we can talk more in detail about what particular things you are going through, and then we can answer properly for you. Okay? No. My scrotum is down the whole time. It's just my stress that's up. Okay. That's why you have to do this deep breathing, and we'll talk about it later. Okay, it's already 9. I have to end it. Okay. So put it deep. Okay, so breathe very deep down my throat. So put it deep down. Okay, I got you. Okay. You can also see my tapes on the Instagram that will show you the deep breathing and all that. You can see that. Would love to see your tapes on deep breathing. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. It's already 9 o'clock. I'll end it at this time, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Suck your dick.
Indian Upper Banush.
So, little much.